Hey everyone, it's NHL Hockey News Sports. I'm back with a video of some NHL news of the day. Some teams to talk about. We do have some news. As I put this board together, the more news comes out. So let's get into a bunch of news we do have. A little bit on the milder day, but some minor news out there. Between injuries, just kind of some things out there. So, and trade speculation and all that stuff. We have some things about the draft. So let's get into some moves and all that, little minor moves, transaction moves. So let's get into it. Starting off with the Blackhawks. This happened a couple of days ago, but that was reported. But let's talk about it now. The Hawks here. Let's talk about the Hawks here. Okay? They're looking for a GM, right? They're really looking for that GM. So, who's going to be the new GM? Well, lately there's been kind of a trend of a group of people, usually known with the organization, worked with the organization, or played with the organization, come together like a little group here and find that GM. We saw them do that with, I think the Canucks, I don't know, I'm blanking right now, but the Hawks are next into that. Marian Hosev, Eddie Olczyk, and Patrick Sharp will be helping them find a GM. Whoever that might be, we'll see. They just started this process, so there's not really any candidates that pop out like, this is going to be the guy. I can think of candidates, but I don't know which ones they're leaning toward. There's a lot of candidates you can go for, right? So we'll see what happens here for sure. It'll be really interesting how things are going to turn out here. For them, so I'm sure soon we'll start to hear some rumors of who could be the guy who could possibly be the new Hawks GM. Moving on now to the Anaheim Ducks. This is basically confirmed now that Pat Verbeek will be the GM of the Anaheim Ducks. What a great pickup this is going to be. It's going to be his first GM job, but Pat Phobique, just to let you know a little history about him, he was the assistant GM to Stevie Y in Tampa and with the Wings. Of course, he played with the Wings. He also had a playing career with the Wings and all that stuff too. So he knows how to be a player. He knows how players feel, and he knows how to be a GM and one of the best GMs, or I should say the best GM in the league. Stevie Y there. Get to learn under him. Nothing but the best right there. So good for Pat Verbeek. He's going to get this job for the Ducks. Really happy for him, and we'll see what goes on from there. I guess Martin Madden Jr. isn't getting the job, so it's going to be Pat Verbeek. So we'll see how that turns out for them. Very interesting, isn't it? Alright, moving on now to the LA Kings. They are looking for a left defenseman. They could use it on defense. Right now, they're in a playoff spot. Not just in a playoff spot, like a wild card spot. Not even that. They're in a seat. Not in a seat. Top 3 in the Western Conference. So that's good for them. They're top 3 right now. 57 points for Vegas in first place. Second place, 55 points for Anaheim. And then you have the Kings at 53 points in third place in the Western Conference. So they're right there of a team that could make the playoffs. Absolutely. You look here, what can they add? Would be really interesting who they could add. Toward the deadline in a couple of weeks, 6 weeks, right? So, looking at what they have left defense, they have Odi Mata, they have Tobias Bjornfot, and they have Morville. Right now, Edler's on long-term injured reserve, and Walker's also on long-term injured reserve. So they could use a left defenseman here, not overplaying Bjornfot, knowing that the Kings are a team that like to be patient with the prospects. So they're going to be patient. Bjornfot, give them the chance, but don't rush them too much, right? And, having Automata in the top 4 is okay, but put him in the first pairing, I don't know. You might need someone else if you want to keep this playoff hopes alive to make the playoffs this year, which was the goal. So we'll see if they can hold it. And they're going to try to, so we'll see what they can do. If they have a trade coming soon, right now, in this week or two, or they wait toward later on the deadline, a couple of weeks down the road, when they feel comfortable to trade for someone. So we'll see what happens. It's definitely an interesting thing that the obviously the Kings are going to be looking into. So we'll see what happens, right? Absolutely. Alright, moving on now to the Sabres. Michael Hauser is on waivers. Just a simple, small little thing. Howard is a guy. Hauser is a, goalie. Hasn't played that bad for the Sabres ECHL. Last year he played a little impressive there too. So good for him there. But Michael Hauser is back on waivers. I doubt anyone would pick him up, but he's been a feel-good story for the Sabres for sure. So, yeah. We'll see what happens. Craig Anderson's back. Dustin Totrowski's back. Subban's out for the rest of the season. Yeah, so I think Luka Pika-Lukanen is about to come back soon too. So we'll see what happens, right? Now moving on to the Blue Jackets. Eric Robinson is out 6 weeks with an MCL injury. You might be like, oh, Eric Robinson, whatever, but just to let you know here that Sean Kuraly and Eric Robinson have shared the most penalty killing minutes for the Blue Jackets. So you think of that. Oh, who's going to be Sean Kuraly's penalty killer partner there? Changes things up a little. You don't think as much like, oh, that's guy, Eric Robinson, yeah, whatever, 6 weeks, whatever. But, he's been key on the penalty kill, so that changes also. Lawson's got to change his idea, like, oh boy, Kuraly, and who's that going to be? So, a little bit, you got to change things up, knowing you lost Texier right now, you lost Bean. They're losing some key guys there now, so we'll see what happens, but hopefully the best for him and a speedy recovery for Eric Robinson. Now moving on to some draft news, we have heard lately that Shane Wright is obviously the guy that projected to go number 1, right? Let's say 2 years ago, we hear about Shane Wright, correct? And we know about him, like, oh, Shane Wright's going to be that number 1 guy in 2022, and all that stuff, that first guy, whoever gets him, we'll see what happens, solid center. This year in the OHL, he has 15 goals, 43 points in 31 games. Not the best, they were thinking of more. I know it's more than a point per game, absolutely more than a point per game, but in the OHL, he should be getting a little bit more than that, right? He hasn't been outstanding. He's been solid, but he hasn't been outstanding, and that's the thing, So we'll see, but he hasn't been incredible. He's been solid, but not terrible. But kind of mediocre there. Knowing that, hey, he has the talent, and he can do better than what he's doing right now. But another prospect to put out here, a guy who you can probably say is in the top 5. A guy who I would say is inching closer here to try to get that top 3, top 2, maybe even first overall, try to contend here with Shane Wright. And that's Logan Cooley. He's been playing in the USHL. He's best prospect so far here, and he's been more dynamic than Shane Wright this season, which has been interesting. Of course, it's a different league, but in 27 games, he has 15 goals, 22 assists for 37 points, and a plus 22. He's just been more dynamic, more of that energetic talent, more talent he has shown than Wright this year. So, very interesting. We'll see what it boils down to at the end. Of course, we still have some hockey to go, so we'll see how things turn out here. But definitely an interesting thing to think about, right? So now, the last thing we have to talk about is the Montreal Canadiens. Petry to the Stars? That's a very interesting, idea. Did Petry go to the Stars? Where is he going? I know he didn't ask for a trade, but he said, I wouldn't mind a trade. His family's in the U.S. Where's he going? I know he's from Detroit. I know his father played for the Detroit Tigers, so, he's used to Detroit, Michigan area. But, a team that could really use, I'm sure, Jeff Petry is the Stars, knowing that John Klingberg is not happy with the contract negotiations with the Stars, knowing that he'll be traded, and they're going to have to get someone in there. Right now, the Stars are not out of a playoff spot, by the way. They are a team that is right there. Here we go. Let's see, where are they? They're like right on the brink there. They're at 48 points of the season, right below wild card spot. First wild card spot right now is the Blues, 57 points. Second wild card spot is the Flames with 50 points. And right now the Stars are right below that at 48 points with the Stars. And guess what? The Sharks are tied with them. So they are not out of it. They can make the playoffs. They can. So you'll see how that turns out. But, definitely a possibility for a wild card spot. I doubt a top 3, spot in the Central, because that's pretty tough. If they win the Western, I could see it. But we'll see what happens. Okay? We'll see what happens. But, they lose or not. I shouldn't say lose. But they trade Klingberg. You're going to want someone to replace him. And I know Klingberg's going to want like 7-8 years, like $8 million. But Petry's getting paid $6.25. Yes, John Klingberg's 29. Jeff Petry is 34. But you're paying. Montreal will be getting the assets back of what Petry did in previous years, last year, so on and so forth. Not what's based on this year. It might go down his value because 5 points only, which is a disappointment for sure. His heart hasn't been in it, but we'll see what happens. Very interesting about that for sure. So, we'll see what happens. For sure. We'll see. So, thank you for watching this NHL News Sports. I hope you enjoy your day. And this NHL News Sports, like I said, so like the video, ding the bell, and I will see you next video. We'll have more hockey news, I'm sure, tomorrow to talk about, and bye.